Going on, guys? I was just chatting with many of you in the YouTube chat, waiting on Sherrod. Turns out he was waiting on me, so apologize we were late. But I got the whole Garden Report crew, the whole press corps, like 50% of the Celtics press corps, down there in who are in this show. After this win, which is an awesome win, Sherrod. Celtics. I think this is two straight, kind of looking right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think it's just a coincidence that we're talking about back-to-back games where they look like that team we saw at the beginning of the season. And
Early season Celtics.
we've got Robert Williams III coming off the bench, giving me 8 rebounds in 15 minutes, 3 steals, 3 block shots. And his presence beyond the numbers was undeniable. That, to me, and we're gonna, and obviously we're gonna get into Jayson Tatum as well, who I thought this was, if when Jayson is having those periods where he's struggling, replay the first half of tonight's game. That is exactly how you get on track. He started not just attacking the rim, but just forcing that defense to move as he backed the defenders down. And if they didn't react quick enough, he just went to the finish.
Slippery.
Oh my God. This was the post game that we know Jayson Tatum has in him.
Yeah,
and it was good to see. I thought he kind of reverted back to a little bit of the Jayson Tatum that we've seen in the third
so did
quarter.
Jalen. They had pockets. They go back into it. You know what? They get that lead, 12, 14, 15 points, and they're like, all right, here we go.
2 more shots and we're at 20.
Wiggle.
Yeah.
Little wig. Let me send the crowd home with a step back friggin' 3.
Exactly.
So they want that, and that's almost like style points. I don't think they forgot, but they're just like, I'm feeling it. Let's take one of those. So yeah, there's moments, but as long as for the most part the game, I think it was 16 assists on the first 22 made baskets, ended up with 28 assists on the night, again on 44 made baskets, I believe. So again, that's that number. You want to see it up approaching 20. They're averaging 26, and a lot of that had to do with how they were earlier in the year. So this is actually by almost any standard, a good Celtics passing team in terms of assist numbers, well ahead of where it was, a year ago when they went to the finals. And now you really want to see it 28-30 kind of creeping up into that direction, because that means they're moving the ball, they're sharing the ball, they're moving it quick. And the enemy of this team is dribbling. Just when they put the ball on the floor, somebody holds it for more than 2, 3, 4 seconds, everything goes to shit. So it's nice when they don't do it. And this was another game. Real quick, I do want to tell people again, I just want to kind of find my bearings here again. Podcast is brought to you, as always, by FanDuel, exclusive wagering partner, CLNS Media Network. Those of you out there who want to get in on the action, Celtics are looking like a good bet these days. Go to FanDuel.com/Boston. Again, you could have gotten some pretty good numbers. They started at 10.5, I think, and it was, and the lead, and it shrunk a little bit because they weren't up big as people had expected. If you wanted to bet it at the half, but again, go to FanDuel.com/Boston. Check it out. Super easy to use. Download it. You get $200 in bonus bets with a $5 wager, so it's definitely worth it if that's something you want to check out. Back to the game, though. It's funny early on. It was a couple things that were interesting about this game, Sherrod. The way they started, not a lot of threes. I think they ended up with 16 at the half, but it was like 11 midway through the second quarter. Yeah. But the efficiency numbers were off the charts. At that point, Tatum was 7 for 11. Jalen was doing well. I think the two of them had only taken 3 threes combined at that point. So that was interesting, but it was close, and it was close. I was wondering if Joe was going to be like, guys, start jacking him a little bit. Like, I want to see more because I know that's kind of the offense that he wants. And ultimately, they got the number up to that 42 range where they like to have it. But they were still just remarkably efficient when they're shooting it at 40+%. Forget about it. They were moving it around. But the defense, it looked like kind of like that early season defense option. This is very much an early season win because it was defense optional until they just decided to step on their throats, put the foot on the gas, stretch the lead out. Other team was trying to come back. They couldn't, turned into more transition buckets the other way. And that was all she wrote. Ball game. That exchange there where you got the Brown to Tatum layup and then the Tatum steal and over to Jalen for 3. I think that was kind of all she wrote there. And then after that, they just friggin' cruised the rest of the way. They got the thing up to, it might have gotten to 30. But it felt like that early season, which is like they're not playing great defense, but in the second half, the defense tightened up.
It did, and I thought that again. We're gonna obviously get into Tatum a lot, but I just thought that everyone understood their role, played their role, and didn't try to do anything more than that. I mean, Marcus Smart took 3 shots. 3 shots was plus 17 when he was on the floor, and I felt that this was one of his more impactful games. I thought defensively he did a lot of good things. I thought he kind of got into their space a little bit. I was a little disappointed I didn't see him more on Halliburton, but then you look over there and you're like, he's guarding Buddy Hield. So it's like, you understood why he wasn't dealing with Halliburton. And Buddy Hield, for the game was 2 for 9. So this was a game where I just thought that all their guys did exactly their jobs. This was a Bill Belichick game. Do your job.
Yeah.
And they need to understand that's how you're going to win a championship. You're not going to win a championship if Tatum is going 12 for 37 from the field.
Right.
And, with 23s in the first half. No, you need to work the game and play to whatever your strengths are against that opponent. And Tatum had major matchup advantages and took advantage of them. Yeah, but in Indiana, which I thought was a little strange, they had a number of matchup advantages as well, but they didn't really milk it as much as I thought they would, because Miles Turner seemed like damn near every time I look around, he's got the ball. He's got Derrick White or Tatum on him, and he made him pay. He just literally didn't even put the ball on the floor, just shot right over the top. And I didn't think Indiana did a good enough job of just working that matchup, because the Celtics had no answer for that, really. But again, this was a good win. This was a really, really good win, not because of the team they played, but because of the way they played.
Yeah,
they need to string these type of wins together. And again, as we talked about on the A-List podcast, their schedule, when you look at the teams that they're working with, Milwaukee has one of the 10 toughest remaining schedules. Philadelphia has the toughest. Yeah, and the Celtics are somewhere in the middle. So it's not that inconceivable for them to gain a couple games on Milwaukee, which, by the way, still has a West Coast trip left in them. So this, again, playing like this gives the Celtics the greatest chance to close that gap and eventually overtake Milwaukee potentially for that top spot.
Yeah, it's possible. It's 3 games in the loss column, which is tough. And obviously, you've got to win that one when you go up there this week. And if you do that, I think there's some possibilities there. I mean, they're pretty well slotted in that 1, 2, 3. I think the Celtics have to look at it like we got to end up at least the 2 when you're playing the seeding game, because dropping to 3 is a problem, because you're on the road in round 2 and you don't necessarily want to be. So you definitely lose. You lose an advantage there, which is too bad, because these are clearly the 3 best teams. They've separated themselves considerably, and they're pretty much locked into those top 3 spots. But yeah, no, it's possible. And I think it was important before we get into individual performances, because there was a lot of good ones, including Tatum, including White, including Rob, including Jalen, who again just kind of plays like he's a man on a mission. Again, both Tatum and Brown got a little loose with it once the game got, confident, but that's not indicative of the type of game they played. It was really they were killers when they had to be, and when it was winning time. But you wanted to see if they could repeat it, because we've seen too much one step forward, one step back with the team for 40 plus games, and not fully. I mean, they still had a solid record during that span, but you didn't ever feel like they were playing good basketball for long stretches. It'd be, played crappy, but got the win here, played pretty good in this one, bad game there, whatever. So there was just such a mixed bag where you'd never feel like, oh, they're rolling right now. Like Philly has been rolling, and there's a lot of good things, and their offensive rating has been through the roof since the All-Star break and even before that. So Celtics haven't gotten on one of these rolls. Would be great to see them get on it now, because you got a lot of things going, which is one, full freaking health. You're working Rob back in, and we'll get into Rob a little bit. He looked springy and spry tonight, and that's got to be a good sign. You're wondering whether Joe has settled into this being what he's going to do, starting Derrick White, and what that unlocks in him, playing him more minutes, what he's able to do. Again, you did this tonight without Malcolm Brogdon, who's a key piece. You took Grant Williams out of the doghouse and putting him back in and getting him the kind of useful minutes that he probably needs. They're starting to kind of form, which is like really important. And if you can stack a few good efforts and they're playing anywhere close to this heading into the playoffs, I don't actually care what their seeding is. I've said even when they were playing poorly, Sherrod, I still think they waltz to the conference finals because I don't believe Philly beats them. But you start playing like this, it becomes you're a problem. Like they get back. They just have to remember it, right?
Yeah.
Like last game, they looked in the mirror and saw themselves, and they're like, "Oh, let's be that." Like, can you continue to be that?
Yeah. I mean, it felt the last couple of games, it feels as though they're catching their second win.
Yeah,
that they're just
we
like,
were
okay,
bored,
and now it's like, okay,
hope.
let's go, we've got this, and I think it's so critical that they again figure out who they are, or better yet, who they want to be come playoff time. And I do like Rob coming off that bench as a backup to Al, because it makes your bench so much stronger. And again, the way that Rob plays, 15, 20 minutes a night for him, he could be a major impact player for them in a very limited usage because he's that good. He can be that kind of difference maker. And again, as you pointed out, no Malcolm Brogdon tonight, which you're talking about another 15, 20 points that you're not getting, and yet you're still able to win going away. And Derrick White, I mean, what can we say? I mean, he goes for 22, 8, and 4, 5, and it's like, okay, not a big deal. How many teams have a guy that's like maybe your fifth, sixth option who can be that impactful and it just not be that big a deal? Because he's just doing what he does.
It's amazing. Just a completely different dude offensively from who he was at this point last year, when he's still trying to figure out who he is and fit in, and the shooting woes were bad and he wasn't getting much going to the basket. He's just so confidently, and this is not a super athletic guy or a high riser. He's just got such an uncanny kind of sense of timing and just body control. He had that one move with the double spin cycle, kind of spin one way, spin the other in the lane, and again, this isn't meant to be a knock on Jaylen. Jaylen does that stuff 8,000 miles an hour, but it feels a little bit out of control because he's going so fast, and he still gets there because he's such an athletic freak. White doesn't ever feel like lost on any of those. He's going into spaces, what he needs to do to get off the shot, to get a little one-handed floater, to sometimes get it off with the left, and he's able to get it. But last year just wasn't doing that, wasn't able to get to the cup and finish, wasn't able to find that little mid-range sort of thing, and wasn't shooting nearly as confidently as he is now. Now it's just catch and snap, pull the quick trigger and go. So just a different dude offensively than he was last year, and like a legit weapon now. It just opens things up. And again, I've always been on the even during last year, I've always been team no double big. I really love the lineup when you're staggering Allen Rob's minutes. I really do.
Yeah, I've been real anti single big. I just have, but I mean, I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at the way this team is evolving, and looking what Rob can do in a very condensed period of time, and how much they need someone on that second unit who can do what he does. I kind of like it. I like it a lot with him playing behind Al. It shortens your rotation a little bit, but you know what? You're only going to play 9 guys in the playoffs anyway. I think we saw the 8 that they played tonight, plus you throw in Malcolm Brogdon, and that's your rotation, your playoff rotation. So this was a really good win. Lots of guys did their thing. And to your point about Derrick White, it's confidence. I think that's the biggest difference between him now than last year. Is just that everything he does, you see, you feel a different swagger about him, a different kind of confidence about him. And they need that. They need that so bad.
Yeah. Again, different guy. I mean, to the point that, like, again, last year, he almost, I wouldn't say unplayable, but his offensive struggles were so profound that Ime sometimes would just kind of leave him on the bench for spells, because it was just when they were hunting to find that offense, when he was so lost, it really did kind of negate, all of the different things that he can do. Right now, you're getting the full Derrick White experience, and he keeps getting better. So again, I think he's earned that spot in the lineup. It's not just a spot in the lineup. It's the spot in the lineup and the opportunity to play legitimate minutes, which is what he's doing. I know he was 37 last game. And again, they got to, sit a bunch of guys tonight, but I mean, he's now, I don't think we're going to get a lot of Joe Mazzulla press conferences anymore where he's like, yeah, I forgot about Derrick White. I should have played him. Like, it's amazing that, like, he said that again a week or so ago. I don't know how you're forgetting about this guy, but I do think that I think he's got it. I think he's got it locked in now. I'm curious what happens as Rob plays his way back into shape if they go back there. I don't want them to. I know you're kind of on the fence with it, but we'll see.
Derrick has literally been your best guard this year. I mean, Jalen, I consider a wing small forward, but as far as like guys who handle the ball, initiate your offense, Derrick has been your best player this season. And how do you forget your best player? I don't understand that one, but I will say this though. I'm hoping that Joe Mazzulla is embracing the fact that he's going to have to make some decisions that he may not be comfortable with, but it's for the best for the team. Like, I think Joe likes the double bigs. I think he likes it a lot, but I'm not convinced that's necessarily the best starting lineup for you to be successful. Particularly when you have a guy like Rob who you can bring off the bench for 15, 20 minutes a game, and he can make the kind of impact that we know he's capable of. Yeah. And you got, the way that Al Horford's been playing, again, he's been your most consistent big all season long. I mean, the dude is ranked among the league leaders in three-point shooters. How many centers? Yeah. I mean, as great as Dirk Nowitzki and our good friend Kelly Olynyk, another 7-footer who shoots threes. None of those guys were near the top of the three-point shooting standings the way Al has been this year. And it's not like Al's only taking 1 or 2 a game. I mean, they're looking for him to shoot threes every single night. And to his credit, he's given them that stretch big that they were looking for. And now when you got Rob coming off the bench, you're subbing out your stretch big for a stretch defensive big, a guy that can make that impact both away from the rim as someone who can contest shots and contest drives, and a guy who can obviously do a lot of help side defensive type things inside the paint, like we saw tonight. Pacers player thought he had a layup, and Rob and the funny thing about it, Rob had a block where he
with his armpit.
Yeah, he didn't even. I mean, he screwed up the timing of it, and he still pinned that.
He jumped 2 seconds early, and on his way down, caught it with his armpit.
Yeah, I mean, but that to me, that's just another example of his insanely ridiculous athleticism. That even when he gets something wrong, he can make the right play.
And again, only 16 minutes. And again, there were periods of tonight where Rob was catching the ball in positions where, like, he just wasn't comfortable.
You see him put it on the floor and try to finish at the rim?
He tried to finish, but it wasn't with a lot of confidence. But that was the right play. He's got to believe in it. He kind of half-assed it. I actually think he should have pulled up from 12 feet there.
I was hoping he'd pull for the jumper.
Yeah.
And remember, he had another play out on the perimeter where I think he had a block and then had to steal. And it was basically 2-on-1.
And he's dribbling.
He started to dribble, and then he's just like, uh-oh.
I don't dribble. Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't what I do. Again, that aspect of Rob's game, we've lamented him not having the benefit of an offseason, the ability to kind of evolve some, but that's not what you're looking for this year. You're looking for him to get his athleticism back, his timing, his endurance, and be able to just do what he does. His impact is so obvious and profound when he's out there that just having him in there just adds that other wrinkle. We've talked about it a ton, and we'll continue to talk about it. We're also going to be joined by Bobby Manning in a minute. Do want to tell you again quickly about FanDuel, Massachusetts. Listen up. Wait is over. It's been over. We're 2 weeks in now. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, live in Massachusetts. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Yeah, I was sweating a little the Celtics tonight, but they did me right. All you have to do is sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. Download the app. It's super easy, super safe, very secure. Don't miss your chance. $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston. Make every moment more on America's #1 sportsbook. We do need to tell you, you've got to be over 21 to participate and present in the state of Massachusetts to take advantage of this deal. Also, you must deposit $10 to start. That's 10 and bet 5. And that will get you $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's non-withdrawable bonus bets. Expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms, sportsbooks.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, hope and help is here. Gambling helpline, ma.org, or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 7 support. Let's circle back to what we were talking about before. We were talking a little Rob. We will bring Bobby Manning in, who's down at the Garden. And Bobby, what's going on? Sherrod might need to take a quick powder here, so you carry the load for a little bit.
Yeah, good win all around. You did everything right in this one for the most part. Turnovers midway through the game into the second half, probably the sloppiest thing you saw from the Celtics in this one. But the defense, pretty intense again, pretty switchy.
Second half for sure.
I thought they were dropping a lot early and kind of playing passive and letting all these floaters go over their head. Second half, you saw Rob up, deflecting balls, catching passes, 3 steals in this one, and then, of course, the help side down low. I know you guys were in the middle of talking about Rob right when I came in. This is the kind of Rob you're looking for defensively, in the right spots, engaged, in the right positions when guys are getting back down low. And I know Turner got a ton of shots up over Celtics defenders in this one, but nothing that really hurt them. And they stopped enough of them to...
It's a strategy, right, Bobby?
Yeah.
They want them to shoot those. Like, they're playing that on purpose. They want them
to limit
shooting
the threes, right?
Yeah, to limit the threes. They're kind of luring them in, and if you make it, you make it. What happened in the first half is a lot of those went in, and it looked like the defense was soft. They did get beat on the pick and roll a little bit as well, but you're right. They're almost kind of willing those shots to be what they want to do. Pacers did not shoot a lot of threes in this game at all.
No, the Celtics, especially third quarter where they got a ton up, took a pretty strong advantage there. Though I thought the Celtics set a good tone getting paint touches early. You saw them play the kind of offense you're looking for them to play at this point, which is inside out, multiple layers of passing. Tatum and Brown, I thought, moved the ball very well. Brown actually got a little bit of bump in ball time, I noticed, too, in this one. And he had his ups and downs there, but he hit that mid-range shot. And then Derrick White, as aggressive as I've seen him all year in this one. I thought that was a big story out of this one. Josue pointed that out to me, just how aggressive he was in the scoring game.
Incredible. Sherrod and I talked about it too, just the confidence in attacking. You had that double spin move, which was just gorgeous, and just being able to read the defense and, being able to get around the defender and get that shot off. But he really did attack aggressively, and he's gotten so good at being able to kind of get that shot off and impact the game in that way. And then he's just stroking it much more confidently, obviously, from 3 as well. So, I mean, Sherrod and I were talking about, Sherrod's always been a double big proponent, is whether Joe has seen it now enough to believe that this is where, again, we're talking, 8 games, Bobby. You're going to pull a bait and switch and go double big starting lineup in the last 3 or 4 and enter the playoffs with it, or just say, I'm riding with this right now?
I think you're riding with this. And Joe left the door open to go back to it. So he's not committing to anything there. I think that's what most coaches would do. I think he said it's going to depend on matchups, the team they play in the playoffs, and injuries, of course. If you see one of those starters go down, you could go back to double big. Rob's probably your 6th or 7th man there, especially considering Brogdon's not going to start. And that was another impressive thing in this one. They didn't have Brogdon, but that's for later. I'd stick with this small ball lineup. The margins they've built, outscoring opponents and playing great offense with that group, pretty substantial at this point. You don't have enough time left to develop that starting lineup from last year. I think that's the biggest thing. And Rob's still limited, I think. What did he play, 16 in this one I just saw?
Well, he gets back in. He would have gotten back in for another 5-6 minute stretch if it wasn't a blowout. Yep. So he didn't get his 4th quarter minutes, but he's playing 5 to 6 minutes. This is what we talked about. If he can't go 30, put him off the bench and play the hockey shifts. Go 5 minutes at a time, and that's what they're doing. You even see it early. Al subbed out before the 5-minute mark. Al came out, like 4:45 into the game, and they brought in Rob, and he played 5 minutes, and then Al comes back in. I like that, I don't mind that at all, it being the thing that they do. Sherrod had to relocate. He's in the bowels of TD Garden, but he's here hanging out. But Bobby, I think that's what you have to do for multiple reasons. To keep everybody fresh and healthy between 2 people. And we've been saying this from the start. You've got an old man in Horford that you cannot be stacking 37 minutes on that body in the playoffs. You can't do it. And then you got Rob, who has just shown that he's just not able to carry the load right now, and you just got to get him through. The only way you can do this, it's not just who's playing better. The only way to do it is to stagger those guys at this point and get max value out of both. I know maybe in a dream scenario, if Al was 4 years younger and Rob was fully healthy, you'd ride that double big lineup into the sunset and just shut people down defensively. But you got to play the hand you're dealt. And given all the circumstances here, I don't see how he could possibly switch back.
Right. And the other thing, too, just to point this out, is the fact that, one, it's working. Two, you have an alternative that is successful. And three, you're doing what you're supposed to do as a coach, which is maximizing the value of the talent that you have around you. Derrick White deserves to be out there significant minutes. Malcolm Brogdon deserves to be out there significant minutes. And Rob, as much as you want him to be out there, you've got to be smart about his minutes. He's in you have to put him in a different category when it comes to how you utilize him. You can't look at him the way that you would a Al Horford or a Malcolm Brogdon or a Derrick White, because those guys have, I think, just a little bit more bandwidth to be out there and play major minutes. Rob, you're not going to see him play 35 minutes in the playoffs. That's not that game is not going to happen.
Period.
But can he? No, I don't see why you would, unless he's having a phenomenal game, because even if he's having a great game, in the back of your mind, if you're coaching, you're thinking like, damn, we're at 27 minutes. He's been really good. Let's not push our luck. Well,
here's the good thing about bringing him off the bench. We saw this early this year. You can play that double big lineup in rotation, which they haven't done yet. But I think they could potentially in a postseason setting. But you can also close with Rob if he does show you huge spurts in those bench rotations. And they did that early this year, too. They're going to need a lot of him, I think, come postseason. I don't know if you can limit him to 20. And I know it looks good in these regular season settings, but every minute's so important in the playoffs that if you have him off the floor, Horford struggling in a game or just not giving you the maximum Horford impact, that's going to become a tough trade-off, I think, for Joe to handle. And it's just going to be another one of these rotation decisions. White versus Brogdon, Rob versus Al in the flow of these games. I don't think the rotations are set out in front of them. Fortunately, I think the starting lineup is. That group's so good. I think that's going to be the easiest thing for Joe to manage into the playoffs is just rolling that group out to start every game. But you might play a big team like a Milwaukee that forces you to adjust a little bit.
I've said this, and Jimmy said it too. Don't worry about matching up with other people. You have better players than they do. Make them worry about you. I don't care. I don't understand that philosophy. I'm not mad, Bobby. I just don't get it. The Celtics have the best team when they're all healthy and when they're all playing well. They have the best depth. They have the most talent. Make people respond to you. Don't just throw guys in there and throw everything that you do well out the window. Sure, you'll get beat in some areas, but don't obsess over them. You're going to be better than them in so many others. You're the problem.
Yeah, it's less about that, John, though, and just making sure you have your 5 best guys on the court.
It's
as long
fine.
As possible.
You're going to mix and match, and there's going to be times where you are going to play couple bigs on the court at the same time, but keep your starting lineup and keep the rotations going and then adjust as needed. You feel like you're getting killed inside and you need a little more beef. Yeah, Grant's minutes might go up and you're going to make sure that he's out there a little bit more with one of the bigs and you're not going 3 guards or whatever. Absolutely. But yeah, I'm not mad, Bobby. I'm just disappointed. I don't like that philosophy. I think if you're the Golden State didn't worry that they were too small, and like, well, let's just put tall people in there because other people are big. No, everyone's like, how the hell are we going to stay with these guys?
Their best players weren't their bigs. And Horford's in that 5-6 mix. Rob,
he is, but that's the thing is you don't have to worry. You have players who are capable. You just don't need to overdo it and be like, I need to be as big as possible here. Play your game. You're good enough. You have enough size, other places to compensate for it. You're long. All of your guards are big. Like
that's the key. I mean, White and Smart hold up so well.
They're so big that everybody's so long, like it's just, they're okay there. If they're keeping it, if they're, not falling asleep on the boards and this and that. Like, look, what are you going to do? Embiid's a friggin' monster, like that's always going to be a problem. It doesn't matter. Embiid can go off for 40, 50. If you've got everything else locked down, you're still going to be okay against that team.
It looks like Jalen's talking right now, so I'm going to go check in over there and be back.
Bobby, do your thing. We'll hold it down. Bobby's going to make sure you say something nice to Jalen. Be nice to him.
Be nice to Jalen.
Be nice. He's leaving because of jerks like you, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby. Damn it.
Bobby. Be nice. Be nice to Jalen. We're going to take a quick pause. We will tell you about another sponsor of ours here. The Garden Report is brought to you by BetterHelp. For those who are not familiar with BetterHelp, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it here. But hold on one second as I pull it up. There's my BetterHelp read. As we said, this episode of the Garden Report brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/garden and get on your way to being your best self. And again, we've talked about this one on the show before, but I don't know whether or not anybody considers doing something like this, but when you are at your best, you do great things. You can get bogged down with a lot of stuff, overwhelmed. Working with a therapist gets you closer to being the best version of you, and that's why we're talking about this. It's also, if anybody's tried to find a therapist locally, it is very, very, very difficult. So again, BetterHelp is expensive. It's difficult and expensive, and it's tough. But if you want to give it a try, you should definitely look into it. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, entirely online. So it's something that you can do that fits into your schedule. If it's something you've thought about giving a try, give it a shot here. Go to betterhelp.com/garden today. Get 10% off your first month. Again, it's pretty good because this can get really expensive. Betterhelp.com/garden. Definitely worth looking into if you're interested in that. And again, also Athletic Greens. You know all about AG1, Sherrod Blakely's favorite. Travel packs with him wherever he goes. Go to, as you can see here on the screen, pick up your first free gift here, athleticgreens.com/garden, free 1-year supply, vitamin D and 5 free travel packs. Terrific supplement to start your day. Vitamins, minerals, takes care of gut health, immune system, recovery, focus, mental clarity, all sorts of different things that you probably have to kind of jump around and get a million different supplements to do. Just do it here. 75 vitamins and minerals, 1 scoop of water, and you're done. And if you do go here, you'll get that special gift we said on the screen at athleticgreens.com/garden. 1-year supply, vitamin D5 free travel packs. Also, either of these sponsors, if you support here, BetterHelp or AG1, submit your receipt and your form. The form is in the description here. If you submit that, we will send you a free T-shirt. Or I'll give you Jimmy Toscano's address. He's got a box of them, and you can just go to Jimmy's house, and he'll be handing them out, and that way you can get it, and you can meet Jimmy as well. Jumping back to it, Sherrod. Somebody put something interesting in the comments. I figured it worth mentioning. You talked about Marcus Smart having fewer shots tonight.
Yeah.
And someone in the comments was like, well, when D White's in there, Marcus shoots less. I don't know that that's the case all the time.
I don't know if that is the case all the time either.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd have to look at the numbers and crunch them, but my gut tells me his shot taking numbers are about the same, if not they're more.
But
which is not good.
Which is not good. So why do you think you have a game like this with Marcus where he decides I only need to take 3? Because we've always said the best Marcus is to give the game what he needs, Marcus, right? And sometimes he sees Tatum and Brown aren't kind of doing their thing, and he's like, I'm going to be the one who's going to be aggressive. I don't like what we're doing right now. So sometimes he will take it upon himself and try to take a little bit more of a leadership role in the offense. Sometimes he does it for no discernible reason at all. And then other times he has a game like this with 3 shots or 5 shots or 6 shots. And then the next game, he's going to shoot 11 threes. So I don't really know that Marcus consciously does anything. I think he's in the game and he kind of feels it. Whatever happens, happens. So I don't know that he's sliding into the role you want him to play in a game like this. I think it just kind of happened, but I'm not sure.
I think tonight was more about Marcus focusing on Buddy Hield, knowing that he had to be really good at that end of the floor. And the results were Buddy Hield goes 2 for 9.
Yeah.
And again, I think there's certain matches where Marcus is going to, I think, mentally lock in at that end of the floor more so than others. And I thought this was one of those games because he knew that if he wasn't guarding Hill, he would be guarding, Halliburton, who's a hell of a player. And so he really couldn't, I think, afford to have those 5, 6, 7 heat check type shots when he's really not hot.
Didn't it feel, by the way, that Halliburton had a bigger game than he did?
It did. When I looked at the front of the box, I'm like, did I miss like 10? Did they miss like 10 points that he scored?
Yeah, I mean, he had a good game, but didn't knock down the threes. I felt like he was just impacting the game more and scoring more. And again, it's still a good line, 20 points, 9 assists. But I thought the number would be bigger. I actually felt the same way about Sabonis last game. Every time I looked, I thought he was scoring, and then I was like, he had 16 points. So not exactly what I'd expected. They did a decent job there. Turner again, second straight game. He's really killed him. He's rounded into a decent. Again, last couple times Celtics have seen him, he's looked all world. But I thought he had a decent game too. But again, just not enough firepower on the other side to stay with the Celtics. That's what they were doing to teams early in the year. It's just you're not going to be able to keep up with us.
Right. And with Halliburton, it felt. I mean, just if I didn't look at the box score, I would have thought he had like 30 points. And similar, it felt that he was making a bigger impact. But the thing about it is, most of his damage was done in the first half. They did a really good job of making him a very minimal impact player in the second. And again, lots of guys deserve credit for that. Certainly Marcus Smart, Derrick White are front and center of that charge. And the role players, the guys that don't play major minutes, I thought did a heck of a job in the limited time. We haven't mentioned Sam Hauser's name today. And Sam, I mean, he had a quick, 9 points, 5 rebounds. Was a plus 11 out there, played almost 24 minutes. And I get he got a few extra minutes just because it got so lopsided. But even when he was playing and the game was still a game, Sam was playing well. And that's what they need. All those guys who are kind of like those fringe rotation type guys, they have to do whatever their strength is, whatever got their asses to the NBA. They need to maximize that when they get out there on the floor. And I thought Sam did that. Grant, I thought got off to a little bit of a slow start, but I thought he did a couple of nice things out there as well. And obviously we've already talked about Time Lord. So
Yeah, we have. What we have not talked enough about is Tatum, who again sets the franchise record for most 30-point games in a season with 40, passing Larry Bird. And I will say, in Larry's defense, if three-pointers were fashionable there, Larry would have had about 70 30-point games that year. But doesn't matter. It's still an insane accomplishment. But it's not just that. That's just numbers, and it doesn't really matter. What does matter is it's a second straight game where he's led by attacking and being aggressive and going to the basket, and it's clearly a choice. A lot of what he's doing is a choice, and almost like I looked in the mirror and I did recognize I was not doing what I'm supposed to be doing here. I wasn't doing the things that can make me most effective. I was leaning too much into 3-point shooting and staying on the perimeter and trying to ISO and trying to do all of these things that frankly he's not good at. Certainly not this year, but he's been very good at getting to the basket, getting to the line, and finishing much better than he has in years past. And it's almost like it's like the superhero that's discovering their power. Like I'm 6'8", 6'9", long. I've got some added muscle to my frame. I'm pretty slippery, and I can take it to people. So let's just do that. And the quick decision making and doing it. It was nice to see back-to-back games him having this kind of game.
Yeah, I mean, it felt the last couple of games almost if this was like the Jayson Tatum accountability tour.
Yeah.
Where he's just saying, you know what, I'm going to accept the fact that I've not played my best basketball, and I'm going to change that right before your very eyes. I'm going to attack guys off the dribble. I'm going to post up. I'm going to force the defense to flex and pivot in a way they're not expecting me to, because they're looking for me to just raise up and shoot threes. But I'm just going to back these little guards down, and I'm going to force you to do something to try and stop me. And if you play me too close, I'm going to find a teammate. I'm going to keep the ball moving, but I think I can score over whoever you put on me. And that's what he did, I thought, tonight, just over and over and over again.
Yeah, more in the post for sure. That you're seeing that, and just more quick decision making, getting to the, just deciding, I'm going to attack faster before the defense settles. I think that's always part of this problem, is setting guys up. He hasn't been doing that. He's also had two. I mean, you might even say that Utah game was kind of a low point game. I mean, he's had bad games this year, but I've never seen him look as lost or disengaged or whatever it was, as he did in that game. Didn't attempt a lot of shots, wasn't responsible on defense, didn't impact the game at all. This is kind of like during that run where Jaylen Brown has really stepped way up in terms of both being more aggressive, considering himself at times to be the alpha, because the reality was Tatum was not. And I'm not trying to stir the pot here, but Brown did talk about leadership and accountability before that interview came out about, it's kind of up to us to step up. But at the time, I'm not saying he was saying it to to be critical of Tatum, but it's like, sometimes that guy's got to be me, it's not, I can't wait around always for this guy to do it, even though, you guys might think Tatum's the savior. Like, I can be that guy too. And he's been that guy. And so, now Tatum's got 2 straight games where he's like, yeah, I'm that guy too, and like, that's kind of the best balance, I think, with these guys is, well, it doesn't have to be 1A and 1B. It just has to be 2 people that recognize at either point in time, one or the other of us needs to be, taking charge of situations to make sure that we don't let things go completely, off the rails. But really, both of us should be. Like, there's no excuse for us not to just be doing what we do all the time. So Tatum's kind of stepped up too. It's actually great to see them both have dominant games the last 2 games.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm starting to notice is that not only are they doing the scoring, which we know they're both capable of doing, but they're also doing a better job of being playmakers on the same night. I mean, Jaylen has had 4 straight games where he's had at least 4 assists, and I don't know if he's had a stretch like that in his career, where the playmaking, getting guys the ball where they can get easy shots, has been as blatantly obvious and intentional as he's made it out to be. And it's basketball 101. If you're a great scorer and you start getting your teammates shots and they're scoring, that's going to create more opportunities for you down the road to do what you do well.
Yeah, and they're going to like you more. But yeah, again, a great game. And again, sharing the ball, 24 shots Tatum, 23 shots Brown. They were both crazy involved. Tatum playing 2 of his best games since Jaylen kind of outed him as wanting to trade him for KD. He didn't fully do that, but there's definitely no, it doesn't look like they played 2 of their best games since Jaylen came out there. I wonder if everyone's trying to impress Jaylen right now, like
they should.
Let's all be on our best behavior so Jaylen stays, let's get along, let's just share the ball and let's do, all of these fun things and get it going. But 2 great games since the Jaylen article threatened to blow up the team, threatened to blow up the franchise.
Well, I mean, we've seen this movie before where something comes out that's not all that flattering, and then all of a sudden things change. I mean, remember, it was last year when, Marcus Smart said Jaylen and Jayson need to pass the ball more. And then what happened? All of a sudden, the ball starts whipping around, wins start racking up. Ime's looking like damn coach of the year. And next thing you know, they're 2 wins away from an NBA championship.
Yeah, they don't have uncomfortable conversations. They just they air some they air some grievances, put it out there through the evil media that takes things out of context. But what do you know? Boom. That and a little trip to wine country, and these guys are great now. Josue,
my dude.
Josue, you were in there. I don't know if you got a chance to talk to some people, but your general kind of observations.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just feel like they know that this is it. Like they have to find this momentum before the playoffs start, and they know that they can do that. I just think all of this talk and things circling about Jaylen's future, it's just something that they're going to keep it about basketball. And that's exactly what, for the most part, Jaylen was saying just, 2 minutes ago when he was talking to the media. Of course, he got his questions about the article, and, he's not going to – I just feel like he doesn't owe anyone an explanation. Of course, Jaylen feels the same way. So he didn't do the whole, like, I'm not going to answer that question. He did a good job of expressing himself in the sense of, he's not always going to tell everybody what's going on in his mind because, that's just who he is. But at the same time, I mean, he's going to go out there and play ball. He's going to put out the best effort he has. And it's interesting because it seemed like Celtics PR are trying to wrap up the press conference. But one of the guys goes, any more questions? I'm like, yeah, I got one last one. And Jaylen is on his way up. And he just gives me that face like another one. I'm just like I almost said, don't worry.
Another one.
Why do you hate us?
you'll be okay. Don't worry. Like, I didn't even say that though. I just said, look, Jalen. Well, I didn't say like that, but I was like, compared to obviously last season, which was an incredible run to the playoffs, like how much do you look at that final stretch of the regular season and think to yourself, man, we got to hit that mark, or we have to do better than that, or is all that just in the rearview mirror? And he's like, man, I think about that every single day. That is the motivation. The way we got to the NBA Finals last year, getting back to the finals this year, and that's exactly what motivates me every single day. And I love that response from Jalen, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I mean, we talked about this a couple of days ago, where I'm still in the camp of saying, I don't think Jalen, if this team is successful, this team wins a championship, that changes things. It changes the narrative. It puts Tatum and Brown in a space where everyone's wondering, can they do it again? Is this a dynasty? They're young. They're going into their prime. And that's the kind of narrative that's going to keep Jalen around. Obviously, people can say what they want about all NBA and that incentive. Yeah, that helps. That helps in a big way. Don't get me wrong. But I also think winning helps. I think that's what Jalen wants everyone to focus on this team, on winning. He doesn't want to be a distraction. I really don't think he does.
Yeah, then don't give the interviews.
And Celtics fans don't want to hear that, but yeah, exactly. They have that same. They got the same energy. They have that same energy you have. That's right.
I don't think he gives a damn about the whole distraction or not. It's just like, because even if he's not having those conversations, there's going to be something out there in some way, shape, or form that could potentially distract them from their goal. So, as grown ass men who are competing for a championship, you put all that stuff to the side. Because if you're letting like the conversations that he's having with this newspaper, that newspaper affect how you play, come on, you are the problem, not Jalen. You're the issue, not Jalen. I love the fact that even with all this stuff circling around, about his future and stuff, he's still giving you 25, 6, and 5. Right. He's still finding ways to impact the game, which to me is as clear an indication as any that all this white noise is just that. Right. It's white noise. He's not paying attention to that.
But he caused it. So again,
he caused it. But my point is, he does not give a damn about the damage that comes about.
Right.
He's still going to do what he does.
He didn't accidentally knock over a vase. He friggin' gave an interview and said a bunch of stuff. Like it's not oops. Like he did it. Like he did it. He's spoken into existence.
Yeah, but you're making it sound like he did the interview being like, this is gonna get them riled up.
This is pretty good. No. I mean, but it's not that. Look, I think Jalen is a guy, like many people, who want to give an account of themselves. They want the record straight. Why have people think, trying to put thoughts like, here's what I think Jaylen Brown is about. Here's what I think he's thinking. He's a guy who wants you to know what he's thinking. And so he put it out there. But some of those things were uncomfortable for some people to hear. And
he's never been one to shy away from doing the uncomfortable or
so that's what he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fine. This isn't disparaging Jalen at all, but he chose to do it. And if it did become a distraction, that's on him too. So, it doesn't look like it is at all. And, and that's what we have. I'm going to put on the reading glasses and read a tweet here. Jayson Tatum was asked about the summer call with Jaylen Brown. And again, for those who don't really fully understand the situation or didn't read the article, one of the things Jalen talked about was when he's hearing the Durant stuff, he's like, what the F, man? I'm seeing, pictures of Jayson Tatum. I know he and Durant are buddies. I don't know where he sits on this thing. Celtics keep bringing my name up. Nobody's talking to me. So he calls a 3-way conversation with Stevens and Tatum and is like, so what do you guys want me here or what? The Tatum was asked about it, and he said, just resharing the obvious that we need him, and he's a big part of this team and this franchise. Without him, we can't reach our goal. You guys know that. The world knows that. The team knows that. So there's Tatum. Again, nothing is ever warm and fuzzy with these guys, but stating the obvious that, we need him.
I love the fact that nothing is warm and fuzzy with them.
Nothing's ever warm and fuzzy.
And the reason I love that is,
do you like Jayson Tatum? He plays basketball with me. That's the answer.
Yes. I am all about the uncomfortable, comfortable relationship that they have, because that's just who they are.
He plays basketball. Sometimes I give him the ball. Sometimes he scores. Sometimes I score. Next question.
He passes to me every now and then. I'll pass to him every now and then.
The classic line. You guys know that, though.
You guys know that, right?
Yeah, you guys know that, right?
I love it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
because there's a part of me that is embracing the fact that they are totally playing the media.
I would love that too.
And I love it how people just get so worked up over, Tatum not giving them the precise sound that they're looking for to compliment Jalen to a certain level of happiness. And I'm just like, they're so damn young and they've done much to be that damn young.
But in this case, I think actually Tatum's in a really tough spot because he really likes KD and Jalen's his teammate. And if KD came here, he'd be like, okay. So the reality is there's no way he's storming into the front office and saying, no, never. But he's not. I think he'd be okay. But I think it'd be dishonest for anybody to say.
Well, that's the thing about it. I mean,
I don't want this awesome player here. Like, it stinks. It's not an indictment of Jalen. It's like you would trade literally everybody but everybody but 5 players in the NBA. You would trade for Durant.
Yeah, and I think it was Mikal Bridges and he was part of the deal that brought him from Phoenix to Brooklyn. Said, if it were me, I would have traded me for him too. And I think there's just a handful of guys. There's a handful of guys in the NBA that if you are an NBA player and you were involved in a trade that involved you going to another team and that player coming to your current team, you would totally understand that. And I love the fact that Jalen embraces the fact that he's nice, but I do know that I'm kind of nice too. You do know that I'm giving you 25-5 and whatever, and I'm like the second option on a good night. So
that's a good point, Sherrod. Because
but there's certain players, like I said, there's certain players who are just, no matter who you are in this whole NBA ecosystem, they're going to have more value to another team than you will, no matter what you do. It's just a reality. But I do like the fact that for Jalen, he's got a little edge about that. It makes me think about, remember how Jay Crowder was whenever he brought up Gordon Hayward, and how there was a clear edge about him.
Hayward wasn't even brought up. The Garden, she cheered for him or something, and he was like,
"I was there.
I'm never talking to anyone ever again. I'm taking my ball and going home. I'm going to hold my breath until I turn blue." He just got so mad.
I just know the last game that Gordon played with Utah in the Garden was Jay Crowder's one of his best games that season. Jay was so damn good that night. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was like all-star Jay Crowder that night. And it was because, again, he played with a chip on his shoulder. But again, back to Kevin Durant, you can't help but recognize the fact that any team that has an opportunity to get him would be willing to trade damn near anybody on the roster to make that happen.
Yeah. Bobby, you were trying to jump in there?
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense that Tatum looks at Durant in that way. Because we know Tatum, I think, has a certain level of admiration for the greats of the game, grew up watching Durant, all those things. And obviously, he's still a guy at the top of the game right now. I'd be curious to ask and see, again, if we're going to parse answers about Jalen. And I asked one tonight, but another one I have is kind of how he looks at Jalen in the standing of the league. Is there that same level of admiration and respect? Yeah. And, again, we know Jalen's not Durant or name the best players in the game, Embiid, Jokic, any of these guys. But we know Jalen sees himself at a certain level. He's got that confidence. He's got that competitiveness. He sees himself on par with the KD, I'm almost certain. And so that's probably a little bit of the divide at that time, is that Tatum's looking and saying, man, this guy's 1, 2, 3 in the league, top 5 at the worst. Where's Brown in his mind? And a guy who really helps us. We need him. We got to have him on the roster to, do what we want to do here. But is he KD? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys this, because I put it in the text message, but, just throwing it out there. We talk about what could be said instead. Forget warm and fuzzy. Let me ask you this. If Tatum said this one thing one time, how far would this go? If ever asked, do you consider how do you consider Jalen's role on this team? Or do you consider yourself to be the leader? And if he said something along the lines of, Jalen is every bit as much the leader as I am, and every bit as important to this team as I am. I don't view it as I'm the guy and he's number 2. I view it as we are 2 number 1s equal co-leaders, equal responsibility here. Every bit as good as I am, every bit as much a right to blah, 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 blah. Anything that made it seem like he views him as a co-equal, because I think part of it is everyone's saying Tatum's the guy, and Tatum's never not said he's the guy. I think he's just kind of riding everyone thinks I'm the guy, like sort of thing. And I wonder, like, just speaking it into existence, like, nah, man, we're both the guy, like.
John, he can't win that discussion because here's the thing.
Because how do Kawhi and George treat it? I don't think Kawhi's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's me. They're part.
It is a tough spot, John.
Yeah. Well, the problem for that,
he's also not dealing with trade rumors.
Yeah. Well, the problem for that scenario is that if Tatum takes that particular stance, then he's going to be called weak leader. He's not a great leader because he's already conceding. And if he continues to do what he's doing now, he's going to catch some flack. He's going to catch some strays for that too. So Tatum can't win that discussion at all.
Yeah.
And so if you can't win the conversation, then shut the hell up, which is pretty much what he's doing. When he's, the only time he ever talks about their dynamic is when he's asked about it. And I think that's
the question's valid.
That's the thing, Ron. He can throw him a bone every once in a while.
Throw him a bone. That's all I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but if I'm Jayson Tatum, I'm doing the same thing I'm doing right now.
Yeah, but Sherrod, he's not
just
the only leader.
He's pretty once in a while.
He's not the only leader either.
Pretty. We played pretty. At the end of the season, when you got Jimmy Butler and guys going 1, 2, 3 Cancun, what are we doing? We're preparing for the next game. He knows he's pretty.
Take a cool
just
picture.
give him some flowers.
He needs to hear it sometimes, Sherrod.
Yeah. No, he don't. He doesn't need to hear it.
I mean, when he
says he does.
When he saw his all-star counterpart balling up with one of the greatest superstars, one of the greatest scorers ever, I'm sure he felt a little insecure. He felt a certain way about it. And come on, you really think Tatum was going to reach out to him by himself and be like, hey, I know you've been hearing stuff, but don't worry about this picture.
No, that's not him.
That's never going to happen. That's why Jalen did what he did. And I thought it was revealing that he said that. He didn't have to say that, but he mentioned it.
And then he took it up with Josue.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't. I just think it's a reminder of where he is. You know what I mean? Like people forget.
I'm on Jalen's side. This entire narrative. I don't care how this plays out. I'm rocking with Jalen because to me, he's the one guy that has kept it 100 in this entire process. I mean, when something was said that pissed him off, he let you know that. When something bothered him a little bit, he kind of lets you know that. He's not going to give it to you straight, no chaser, but he's going to make you aware of what he's thinking. And I respect the hell out of that, even if I don't always agree with it. But I respect the fact that he keeps things relatively on the level for you.
Wait, I'm told, breaking news, this is the end of it. Jalen wants to be a Celtic and Celtics want Jalen. That's it.
Are you sure? The comment section is flipping out right now. They're really
closed.
Okay, thanks for coming out. Good night.
Thanks, guys. That's what Jalen said in his article. I definitely want to be here. Totally said it. Again, it doesn't matter. It's a story for the offseason. What we are talking about is Jalen's run right now, the run he's been on. And I kind of joked about, if the Celtics want to do not the right thing, if the Celtics are concerned about the Jalen thing and all NBA locks him in here because of the money that he can make versus what he would make elsewhere, this little heater that he's on, if he can continue it through the rest of the season, I joked, sit Tatum and let Jalen get a few 40 pieces here, which you can't do because seeding is important. But this friggin' heater, him playing his best ball,
27 every night
with the face mask, but I mean, just been an assassin. If that keeps going and they don't selectively rest him, and
the three's coming around too,
and
John.
you're looking at John Morant's issues and what that does to him as a lock in the All NBA conversation now, and Kevin Durant getting hurt again after being hurt with the knee kind of knocks him out. And if you can get Jalen there as a forward, I think things change there. I think
Paul George just got hurt too.
Yeah, he continues on this heater, and he's starting to kind of head there.
Even if they position him as a guard, I think he still has a good shot, because a lot of the guards that would be kind of in the same class with him as far as All NBA in the past aren't going to be there. Like Trae Young, I can't see Trae Young being All NBA this year. I mean, that hot mess in Atlanta, so that's one spot right there. I think Chris Paul, may have been All NBA last year. That's another spot that's probably going to be opened up. So at the end of the day, I think Jalen's going
I
to
worry
be
about the
All-NBA.
guard spot. I do. You got
It's
Mitchell.
it's a tighter contest with the guard spot. I will give you that, Bobby. But I still don't think it's by any stretch. Let's put it this way: when Jalen is named All NBA, and I'm gonna put it out there right now, it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna be shocked at all.
No, because I think the forward spot's so wide open. But guard,
It is.
Doncic, Mitchell, Curry, Fox, Halliburton, SGA, Lillard, Morant, as you said. Brunson's been great. Harden,
But the
Garland.
problem with Bobby, the problem with a lot of those guys you named is that they are the number one option on a team that isn't as good as the Celtics. And Jalen's numbers are just as good in many instances as a lot of those guys. And he's the number 2 option on a team that's winning more.
Yeah,
I think that's really going to be
the Celtics were hurt when they slipped performance-wise. Celtics play their way into a 1 or a 2 seed, and Jalen stays on this heater. He's got a lot better chance. Just the entire conversation around the Celtics has been a little ugly, and they're just not on vogue the way they were early. If they kept up what they were doing early in the season and were just croaking teams, Jalen walks in with less impressive stats because they're like, how are we not putting 2 guys on this juggernaut team? They still might, because you might be looking at it like, this is one of the 3 best teams in the NBA. You're telling me I'm not including this other guy? That's ludicrous.
I think nationally they have a ton of respect, John. Every time you hear someone talk about this team, they're like, really? Top 5 defense, top 5 offense? People are panicking about this group? That's all I hear. And, we have a more close nitty-gritty.
People have selective memories.
Has that ever happened before, John? Like, has that the best scoring duo in the NBA? Yeah. I don't know. One of them didn't make all.
But people have selective memories, and you're seeing teams like Philly and Milwaukee playing better of late. So like all of a sudden Harden looks a little bit better to you. You know what I mean? Is like, so things can change. People's perceptions change. They're very, like I said, they have short memories, and the stuff that happened, there's a recency bias in this. So I do think, like I said, this heater and the Celtics finishing strong helps his cause a lot.
It does. And the fact that forward's so thin. And Sherrod, I was going to ask you, were you going to have option to vote for him as a guard and a forward? I think that goes one of 2 ways, right? Some people might see him as a guard and that vote might get split, or the opportunity to vote for him at a forward where there's so many guards. Maybe guys just say, all right, Brown's an all NBA guy. This forward spot's open. Let me just put him over here. I wonder which way that's going to swing.
Bobby, at the end of the day, Bobby, I think they're going to categorize him as a guard. I think that's how he was on the All-Star ballot. I think that's how it's going to be when they pick the All-NBA team, and I think he'll be there. It is. Part of the problem, John, is the fact that you have to have centers on All-NBA. You can't just have 3 bigs, and that's the problem. I mean, really, if we were doing just centers, you'd have Joel, you'd have Jokic. That's probably it.
Yeah,
that's probably it. But you're going to have to sneak Sabonis on there,
Right, you're going to have a third center who, if we're being real, shouldn't be All NBA, but they're going to be because you got to have a center. And
no knocking Sabonis here. We love Sabonis.
No, he's been great. There's so many good players. That's the thing. There's so many good players right now. You can make a case for 30 guys for All NBA. It's so there's so many good. 25 easy. So I don't know. We'll see what it is there. But again, everything about Jalen's game has ticked up, recently since his return, including the 3-point shooting. And again, I'm not sure the full stretch of it, but it's up closer to 40% over the last, series of games. He's working that mid-range back in there. So just a lot of stuff is clicking for Brown right now, which just bodes well. Obviously, like the All-NBA thing is nice, but just having him cooking like this right now, is again, last 2 games, this looks like that team that's like, we're good, like we got it. We'll be fine. We'll eventually just step on teams' throats and put them away. Plus they have Rob now. So again, I don't know what better position you want the Celtics to be in. If they continue this stretch that they're playing in right now, you got to feel pretty good.
You do.
Yeah. Especially when the offense is.
It feels like they're almost sensing it's go time, John. Like you see a little bit more energy. I mean, they're up 18 tonight when Horford chases down Hield and blocks them, or 15 or 17 rather. It would have been 15. They go the other way. Hauser hits that 3, and that's the ball game. So they're trying to extend these leads. They did so tonight finally after we've seen those slip a lot in recent weeks. And defensively, I think you're just starting to see them look a little bit more like themselves, which is so crucial, because I think that's going to really determine how serious they are of a championship contender, how close they can get back to that disruptiveness from last year. We've talked all year, John, about their issues in isolation, their lack of forced turnovers, and the Pacers. I know they threw the ball all over the place tonight too, but the Celtics forced a handful of blocks, steals, things that helped them extend the lead to the level that they did tonight. I mean, me and Josue came into this one expecting a really close game, and it was through halftime. And then finally you saw them tighten up into that third and just run them off the floor. Pretty good team that's given them a lot of trouble too. However you want to describe them, they're a solid team. And the Celtics just took care of them tonight.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they had Carlisle calling timeouts every 5 minutes, man. He was going nuts. He was losing
the
it.
one with like
my boy Ricky Sunshine.
The one with 40 seconds to go in the half is what
the Celtics had him.
Listen,
they had him flipping out.
Ricky is one of my favorite coaches when it comes to minimizing runs, because if you score like 4 in a row,
man,
he called the timeout with like 42 seconds left to go in the half. How much of a run can you stem there? There's one possession each left.
He and Joe are opposite ends of the spectrum. I noticed that last time they were here too. Opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes
Rick
to
doesn't leave a timeout in a clip at all. He's emptying a timeout clip every night.
So you got to empty that out. Yeah, he does.
That was funny right before the change of quarters. Yeah, he was great pregame, by the way, talking about Neesmith and flying planes and all kinds of other stuff. That's up on our channel. That was a great
planes.
And then
Rick does.
The worst game of the season, man.
How about Neesmith tonight? We had a real Neesmith moment. Him trying to throw down a dunk and just like flopping head over heels onto the baseline.
The ghost of TD Garden, man. Can't get over.
He was pretty friggin' invisible, man.
You know what the problem is? It's the ghost of the empty arena. Remember, he was playing during those times, and then now that the place is packed and he's on the other side, he's just.
I was looking for him tonight. I couldn't find him. Did you run into him, Sherrod?
Didn't see him.
Yeah.
Both Neesmith and Mathurin were just non-existent tonight.
Well, the Celtics frustrated those guys early. I'm actually surprised Halliburton broke out of his shell like he did after some of the frustration.
He didn't look at the final line. It wasn't that great,
No, he wasn't his usual self, but he still did some damage at different points and kept the game close. He was the only guy that could do it for them.
Yep.
Because the Celtics are just taking up space defensively. It's great to have Rob back. Great to see him play at the level he did tonight. I definitely think that's the headline tonight. And getting White involved to the level they did, 37 minutes. Is that going to be a constant now?
That's 2 straight.
Is that a constant now for the future?
That's what we debated. We can't see it, right? Can't see them switching back. It's not just starting him.
They can't do it. He's too good. He's too good.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
John, what'd you make of Rob coming off the bench?
Rob was great.
We loved it.
Right?
Yeah, great. I mean, Rob was.
They might have found their rotations.
Yeah, I mean, he gets you that many rebounds in 15 minutes. And we're not even talking about the steals and the blocks and the altered shots and all that. I mean, this is what you want from him.
Right.
But to Bobby's point that he made earlier, you're probably going to ramp up his minutes more than 15 in the playoffs. Yeah, but I still don't see a scenario where we're going to see him playing 30-some-odd minutes, which is what we saw at the very end of the Golden State series last year in the finals. He was playing more than that.
What's interesting is, like, it feels like almost like bordering on fan service at this point. I feel like all season long, people have been clamoring for D. White to start and play more, splitting up the double big rotation, and things like that. And then just, this style of play, like, don't shoot so many threes, work the ball around, get it into the paint and this and that. And it feels like the last 2 games is like a big exhale from the fan base that's been like trying to speak a lot of these things into existence. And I don't know if it just ended up here based off of circumstances, who was injured and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, if Joe found this by accident and this is what we ride into the playoffs, great.
Yeah,
I'm all good with it. And I love double big, but you can still do it at different points if you want to. But this starting lineup has proven itself. They played a ton of minutes together. White's been unbelievable this year. You got to roll with it. And there's nothing wrong with having some balance too. I know you want to ultimately get your best 5 guys out there late, which is going to be the difficult part, as we talked about earlier. But Brogdon, Rob, it's a good duo off your bench, along with Grant.
Yep. Yep. All right, guys. I think we'll wrap it up. We're back on Sunday against.
Yeah, Sunday.
Spurs.
The
Does
Spurs.
Romeo show up?
I love it. Romeo. Is Romeo coming?
I think he
Oh
was
man,
out
he's
tonight.
gonna TV video. What you mean is he coming? Of course
He's got an adductor injury, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I was gonna ask. Like every
I
time
think I
go,
got some
been hurt.
Romeo stock around here somewhere. I gotta dust it off and see if
I
it's
want to
still
see
around.
him play here.
Yeah, I
Come
don't
on.
know.
I still got a
Got
couple
that.
shares.
he's not.
I
gonna
looked at
play,
their
man.
I looked at their injury report for tonight's game. They had 10 guys on it. I think 4 were out. So it's that time of year for the Spurs. It's been that time of year for them for a while. But Romeo has only played 5 games over their last 25 or so. So
Yeah, it's Wembayama season for sure.
That dude, man.
That's what it is.
That
That
dude.
time of the season, guys.
Romeo gets cut and ends up back here on a minimum next year.
think they
Can't
bring
wait.
him back.
I'll dust
Wing
off
depth.
that Romeo stock.
I love it. I'll buy it. I'll buy it all back. I'll buy it
He
all
can
back.
defend. He can
Yeah.
defend.
Anyway, yeah, he can defend. Anyway, all right, we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Thanks. We're back on Sunday, 6:00 game, I believe. So post-game show at about 8:30. We'll see you then. May get a Jimmy Toscano appearance as well. So we will see Josue Pavon, Bobby Manning, Sherrod Blakely, and me. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.